In this video, let's talk about former Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy officially becoming the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders and what could be next for the Chiefs in his absence. But first, how about those? All right, so earlier this week, it was reported that Eric Bieniemy was to interview with the Commanders. Yes, the Washington, whatever their names are, for the offensive coordinator position. He flew out there after the parade and did indeed interview with them on Thursday. Ian Rappaport reported that, quote, the Commanders will interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy for their still vacant offensive coordinator job. Source said he's a top candidate. They spoke with Greg Roman yesterday, which went well, and have no other interviews scheduled. And I know this confused many around the league and Chiefs fans alike because this is essentially a lateral move of sorts. We'll get there. From OC of the Chiefs to OC of the Commanders, and that's why everyone was like, wait, why? Why not just stay here in KC and continue chasing rings if you are going to just go to another team that is not as good as the Chiefs and essentially do the same thing? Well, here's more than likely why. Albert Breer then said the Commanders have waited for Eric Bieniemy, and now they'll get their shot to speak with him. Bieniemy's deal is up in KC, and here it is. Washington can offer him the chance to run the show fully and completely on offense. So that's most likely why. There is a smaller reason that the Chiefs maybe just did not want him back, and some are saying, well, that's why they kept signing him to one-year deals. Others are saying, well, they're signing him to the little deals because they were assuming Eric Bieniemy was going to potentially get a head coaching gig elsewhere, and it just hasn't worked out. So it could be that the Chiefs wanted him to go. I think the most likely scenario is he just needed to go somewhere else where he can completely run the show on offense and prove himself. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. You tell me, but it's well known that here in Kansas City, Andy Reid ultimately runs the offensive show, and it's just a fact, okay? 51%, he can change it at any time. We don't really know when Andy Reid's calling plays, when EB's calling plays. Coach Reid says EB calls the plays, but then other players says Andy Reid calls the plays, and Andy said, yeah, I called that play. That was a fun one. Like, you just don't know. That's convoluted. And after EB has interviewed for 16 head coaching jobs and not landing a single one for various reasons that we may never fully know, I think EB realizes he will unfortunately need to, as I just said, prove himself in other ways that other coaches have not had to, and going to Washington will give him a chance to do just that. Is it fair? I don't think so, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So he interviewed, and Ian Rappaport said today that per sources, the Commanders and Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy have mutual interest, and it's trending in the right direction toward him being their new coordinator. Both sides are working through specifics, but Bieniemy is the top choice. If it all goes well, this should be official today. And Albert Breer said, sources say they'll cover staffing and contracts this AM. If things go well, Washington could have its OC by the end of the day. Rivera and Andy Reid have been in touch too. And that's wise of Rivera to hit up Coach Reid and be like, yo, is he legit? To which I'm sure Andy Reid replied, he's the real deal. And honestly, man, the Commanders are a good team for Eric Bieniemy to run the offensive reins with. I mean, they've got some weapons there on offense. They did pretty decent, all things considered, this past season. I know that their ownership is a train wreck, and that team may possibly get sold this offseason, but I still think it is a good team for Eric Bieniemy to go and take the reins. Rivera is a defensive-minded coach, and EB is going to be able to walk in there and pretty much run the show. Anyway, Breer then reported shortly after that Bieniemy's in the building now, dressed more casually than he was on Thursday for his interview and meeting with front office folks. As we said earlier, today's more about what his offensive staff would look like in the contract. Lots of people there assuming this gets done, and their assumptions are correct, as Eric Bieniemy is now basically as close to officially the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders as you could possibly be. They have agreed to terms, and everything is set. They just need to sign, and I think are just working out a couple final details. This is what was reported. Ian Rappaport said, sources, the Commanders and Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy are finalizing a deal for him to be their new offensive coordinator. Ron Rivera's first choice all along should be official tomorrow. Then Tom Pelissero said the Commanders and Eric Bieniemy agreed to terms on a multi-year deal as their assistant head coach / offensive coordinator. His agent, Jason Fletcher, tells me. So if Eric Bieniemy's agent is telling the NFL insiders this is basically all but a done deal. I mean, you have PFF tweeting out Eric Bieniemy will be the new offensive coordinator per rap sheet. He just hasn't signed on the dotted line from what I understand, but it is essentially done. Everybody's reporting on it. And here is one last tweet on the update from Adam Schefter. Once Eric Bieniemy's deal is finalized with Washington, 3 of the 4 OCDC coordinators from Super Bowl 57 will have changed teams in less than a week. Bieniemy to the Commanders, Jonathan Gannon to the Cardinals, and Shane Steichen to the Colts. ESPN tweeted out, breaking: the Commanders offered their offensive coordinator position to Eric Bieniemy and hope to finalize the deal by Saturday. So again, it's not 1,000% official, but it is basically as close as you can get right now before I send out this video. And I will say this, I'm extremely happy for Eric Bieniemy. He went out on top here in Kansas City, helping the Chiefs reach 5 straight AFC championships, reach 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, and now has 2 rings. And this photo of him at the parade holding up the Lombardi kind of sums things up nicely. In my opinion, man, he reached the mountaintop with this team, did what he could, helped them get some rings, and now he's moving on to start a new chapter in which hopefully he will then be able to climb the ladder and get the head coaching gig he's wanted for some time. It is a shame he's never got a chance to jump just straight from the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs to a head coach of another team, but hopefully this move is going to help him in his next steps. And I know some people are saying, well, maybe he's just not cut out to be a head coach. My answer to that is, maybe you're right, but until he's given the chance like so many other offensive or defensive coordinators throughout the years, we will never truly know, and until he proves us wrong, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Chiefs players love him. It's been confirmed by multiple players. Andy Reid has spoken nothing but extremely highly of the man as well, and I just wish him the best, for sure. And as far as the next steps for Eric Bieniemy are concerned, with Washington, an article from Commanders Wire says, quote, current Washington wide receivers coach Drew Terrell will interview with the Arizona Cardinals for their offensive coordinator vacancy. Quarterbacks coach Ken Zampese, don't know, interviewed with Rivera for Washington's vacancy. So Bieniemy will be adding some new coaches to Washington's staff. End quote. And I don't know the legality of coaching contracts and all that, or even when you're looking at the Chiefs coaches, who has what left remaining on their coaching deals currently. But it does make me wonder, could Bieniemy be bringing anyone along from the Chiefs coaching staff with him? Any of the position coaches? Not really sure at the moment, but we will find out soon either way. And with all that being said, what does this mean for Kansas City, and who is going to fill the shoes of Bieniemy now that he's gone? Well, that choice has been pretty obvious to most people since last offseason when former Bears head coach Matt Nagy was brought back into Kansas City as a senior assistant and QB coach, especially with Eric Bieniemy on a 1-year deal. And that's what Ian Rappaport and others are saying, that Nagy is going to be the top choice to take the OC spot. And some people do not like that. They are saying that Nagy is essentially washed up and a trash choice for the Chiefs. But is he really? His first year with the Bears in 2018, they won the NFC North in the wild card round of the playoffs for the first time since 2010, and they went back to the playoffs in 2020. Nagy was fired after the 2021 season, and the Bears went 6-11. But it's not like things got any better for the Bears with Nagy gone. They went 3-14 this past season. Good God almighty, an absolute train wreck. Meanwhile, Nagy has a great relationship with Andy Reid and Brett Veach, going way back to around 2009 with the Eagles, and has been with them ever since, following them to KC until he left for Chicago to become the head coach in 2018. And it's also worth noting that he was the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs during Mahomes' rookie year and has built good rapport with QB1 as well, spending the season getting reacquainted with everyone and playing a role in their Super Bowl run. And he also was going absolutely bonkers at the victory parade, partying with Mahomes and acting like a fool on stage. And for that, he earned a bit more of my respect. And ultimately, guys, we know Andy Reid runs the offensive show here. You know, Matt Nagy is going to be there to contribute if he gets the offensive coordinator position. Could be another person, but he's going to be there to contribute. Andy Reid is going to have the final say. And as long, in my opinion, as Andy Reid is the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, I would not worry too much about how things are going to go on offense, especially when you have somebody like, I don't know, the greatest QB in the game, Patrick Mahomes, the greatest tight end in the game, Travis Kelce, and then the offensive line and the weapons that they have built around them. We'll talk about it more in the offseason. There are some people I'm curious about, Juju Smith-Schuster, and just some of the other receivers that are on a 1-year deal and what the future looks like for some of those guys, even CEH and others in the running back room. But that's for another video. I will say this, though. The one thing that is less clear to me is who will become the QB coach for the Chiefs. Could it be an assistant coach already employed with the team and just elevate them? Could it be Cliff Kingsbury? That would be a wild one. Or who else? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Matt Nagy or someone else's OC who could fit the bill as the QB coach. And then finally, you got to let me know your thoughts on EB becoming the offensive coordinator of the Commanders. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?